Good morning, boys and girls. Today, what I'd like to do is start a new story. And the story is by Roald Dahl, and it is called Fantastic Mr. Fox. And the illustrations are by Quentin Blake. So the name of the story is Fantastic Mr. Fox. So right away, I know this is a story that could not really happen. It's a make-believe or a fantasy story. I can tell because as I look, I can see that Mr. Fox, who is the main character, he is in clothes. And so I'm thinking, okay, what might be happening in this story? As I look at the pictures, I can see just a couple of other animals in the story. If you look at it, you can see, and they don't look like they're very nice in the pictures. So we're going to find out what the story is about. Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now, at the very, very beginning, it has kind of a start. It's not really part of the story, but it tells us what this story is all about. And so it's the nightly feast. Every evening, as soon as it got dark, Mr. Fox would say to Mrs. Fox, "Well, my darling, what shall it be this time? A plump chicken from Bogus, a duck or a goose from Bunce, or a nice turkey from Bean?" And when Mrs. Fox had told him what she wanted, Mr. Fox would creep down into the valley in the darkness of the night and help himself. Bogus and Bunce and Bean knew very well what was going on, and it made them wild with rage. So what do you think rage might mean? Because what's happening is Fox is coming to get their food. Okay, so what do you think rage means? They're mad, right? Very mad. They were not men who liked to give anything away. Less still did they like anything to be stolen from them. So every night, each of them would take his shotgun and hide on his own farm, hoping to catch the robber. But Mr. Fox was too clever for them. So that's it tells us what kind of leading up. So we've got some 3 farmers, and we've got Mr. Fox, we've got Mrs. Fox. And so let's see what happens. There are 18 chapters in our story. Fantastic Mr. Fox. The 3 farmers. Down in the valley, there were 3 farms. The owners of these farms had done well. They were rich men. They were also nasty men. All 3 of them were about as nasty and mean as any men you could meet. Their names were Farmer Bogus, Farmer Bunce, and Farmer Bean. So this book has quite a few pictures, but they're kind of hard to see in my opinion. So you can tell that those are the farmers. Actually, they're men, aren't they? Okay. And then on the next page, we can see some pictures of them. This is the first. And then this is the second. All right, so let's see what happens. Bogus was a chicken farmer. He kept thousands of chickens. He was enormously fat. This was because he ate 3 boiled chickens smothered with dumplings are noodles, every day for breakfast, lunch, and supper. I think I'd get tired of chicken like that. Bunce was a goose and duck farmer. He kept thousands of ducks and geese. He was a kind of a pot-bellied dwarf. He was so short, his chin would have been underwater in the shallow end of any swimming pool in the world. His food was donuts and goose livers. He mashed the livers into a disgusting paste and then stuffed the paste into the donuts. This diet gave him a tummy ache and a beastly temper. So think about a beast. That means that he's like a real bad temper. Does that sound good to you at all? No. Ugh. Bean was a turkey and apple farmer. He kept thousands of turkeys in an orchard full of apple trees. He never ate any food at all. Instead, he drank gallons of strong cider, which he made from the apples in his orchard. He was as thin as a pencil and the cleverest of them all. Clever means when you're smart. Bogus and Bunce and Bean, one fat, one short, one lean. These horrible crooks so different in looks, were nonetheless equally mean. That is what the children round about used to sing when they saw them. Okay, so this is a picture of Bean and then the kids singing. Okay. Chapter 2, Mr. Fox. On a hill above the valley, there was a wood. In the wood, there was a huge tree. Under the tree was a hole. In the hole lived Mr. Fox and Mrs. Fox and their 4 small foxes. Every evening, as soon as it got dark, Mr. Fox would say to Mrs. Fox, "Well, my darling, what shall it be this time? A plump chicken from Bogus, a duck or a goose from Bunce, or a nice turkey from Bean?" And when Mrs. Fox told him what she wanted, Mr. Fox would creep down into the valley in the darkness of the night and help himself. So then that's a picture of him down in his, or I think they're by the tree, hanging out. Okay. Bogus and Bunce and Bean knew very well what was going on, and it made them wild with rage. They were not men who liked to give away anything. Less still did they like anything to be stolen from them. So every night, each of them would take his shotgun and hide in a dark place somewhere on his own farm, hoping to catch the robber. But Mr. Fox was too clever for them. He always approached a farm with the wind blowing in his face. And this meant that if any man was lurking, that means kind of hiding, in the shadows ahead, the wind would carry the smell of that man to Mr. Fox's nose from far away. Thus, if Mr. Bogus was hiding under his chicken house number 1, Mr. Fox would smell him out from 50 yards off and quickly change direction, heading for chicken house number 4 at the other end of the farm. "Dang and blast those lousy beasts," cried Bogus. "I'd like to rip his guts out," said Bunce. "He must be killed," cried Bean. "But how?" said Bogus. "How on earth can we catch the blighter?" Blighter means someone who is doing something wrong against them. Bean picked his nose delicately with a long finger. "I have a plan," he said. That is gross, isn't it? "You've never had a decent plan yet," said Bunce. "Shut up and listen," said Bean. "Tomorrow night, we will all hide just outside the hole where the fox lives. We will wait there until he comes out. Then, bang, 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 bang." "Very clever," said Bunce. "But first we shall have to find the hole." "My dear Bunce, I've already found it," said crafty Bean. "It is up in the wood on the hill. It's under a huge tree." So they're tired of the fox taking their food, so they've decided they're going to go and kill the fox. So they're going to look for him. And so their first plan is they're going to go to where his hole is and hang out. So I want you to predict, do you think this is going to be a plan that ends up the way they want it to? So think in your head, do you think this is a good plan? And so we'll find out later what happens in the rest of the story.